A joint TV. Kilo. Okay. A ní kó lo ìtí mo send you. I'm sure you to join in Zainab. John.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We are very sorry for the delay. We have some technical issues from the background, but we are trying to reshare the link so that everybody can be able to join. We are seeking a permission of, say, like 10 minutes to be able to do that.
No problem.
We are acknowledging the availability of our resource person. We cannot thank him enough even without having started. Jazakumullah khairan, inshallah.
Mute everybody.
أراد بكم نفعا بل كان الله بما تعملون خبيرا.
Hello, Salam alaikum to barakatuh.
Alaikum salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
We are very sorry for this mix-up, but then
Alaikum salam
we are
warahmatullahi
divided
wabarakatuh.
into two houses. Some are here, readily present, and some are in the other link because the other link is also up. So I'm just trying to see what will be obtainable or what will be better we do. Do we stick to this or we move on to the earlier shared link? We
Okay,
already have
Assalamu alaikum.
something like that.
Yeah, as you can see, people are joining this one in bits. So what you should do, end that meeting and put a chat that everybody should move to the new link and share it again. Then I'm sure everybody will join.
That you move
You
to
have
the
23
link,
people now. Just
right?
end that meeting and share the link again. Then everybody will join this one. I've
Okay,
seen like 24 people have joined now to speak. So they are
let me
saying
go there and tell them that.
yes, and we end the meeting. Once you end it, everybody will come in.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So on the chat board, chat room for the other link, so that they can join this one, then exit the other one.
العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا وسيرت الجبال فكانت سرابا إن جهنم كانت مرصادا للطاغين مآبا لابثين فيها أحقابا لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إلا حميما وغساقا جزاء وفاقا إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا وكذبوا بآياتنا كذابا وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم إلا عذابا إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال صوابا ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والنازعات غرقا والناشطات نشطا والسابحات سبحا فالسابقات سبقا فالمدبرات أمرا يوم ترجف الراجفة تتبعها الرادفة قلوب يومئذ واجفة أبصارها خاشعة يقولون أئنا لمردودون في الحافرة أإذا كنا عظاما نخرة قالوا تلك إذا كرة خاسرة فإنما هي زجرة واحدة فإذا هم بالساهرة هل أتاك حديث موسى إذ ناداه ربه بالوادي المقدس طوى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى فأراه الآية الكبرى فكذب وعصى ثم أدبر يسعى فحشر فنادى فقال أنا ربكم الأعلى أخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى إن في ذلك لعبرة لمن يخشى أأنتم أشد خلقا أم السماء بناها رفع سمكها فسواها وأغطش ليلها وأخرج ضحاها والأرض بعد ذلك دحاها أخرج منها ماءها ومرعاها والجبال أرساها متاعا لكم ولأنعامكم فإذا جاءت الطامة الكبرى يوم يتذكر الإنسان ما سعى وبرزت الجحيم لمن يرى فأما من طغى وآثر الحياة الدنيا فإن الجحيم هي المأوى وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها فيما أنت من ذكراها إلى ربك منتهاها إنما أنت منذر من يخشاها كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عبس وتولى أن جاءه الأعمى وما يدريك لعله يزكى أو يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى أما من استغنى فأنت له تصدى وما عليك ألا يزكى وأما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى فأنت عنه تلهى كلا إنها تذكرة فمن شاء ذكره في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة قتل الإنسان ما أكفره من أي شيء خلقه من نطفة خلقه فقدره ثم السبيل يسره ثم أماته فأقبره ثم إذا شاء أنشره كلا لما يقض ما أمره فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه أنا صببنا الماء صبا ثم شققنا الأرض شقا
Hello, organizer. Hello. Hello, organizers.
Assalamu alaikum to Barakatuh. We are starting right away.
Let's start. It is late.
Exactly.
Here. It's already to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
We are 7 hours ahead.
All right. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah na'mudu wa nashkuru wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkal alayhi wa na'udhu bihi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. إنه من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد أيها الإخوان وأخواتي في الدين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Having spent so much time due to that glimpse we have in the link issue, I want to right away call on one of our brothers, Madam Atonda, is the secretary to MPAN, to give us the opening recitation. That doubles as the opening prayer, while I check for the presence of the chairman of the session, and then we can start right away.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم وليمكنن لهم دينهم الذي ارتدى لهم وليبدلنهم من بعد خوفهم أمنا يعبدونني لا يشركون بي شيئا ومن كفر بعد ذلك فأولئك هم الفاسقون. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulullah. I have done the recitation of the glorious Quran. That is Surah An-Nur, verse 55. Quran chapter 24, verse 55. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called our attention to the concept of security, the concept of a state of being secured in this verse. And it is on the premise of the topic that we are discussing, which is insecurity, monster or myth, Islamic antidotes, to be handled by our revered brother, Dr. Luqman Abdul Rahim. So the meaning of the verses are as follows. Allah says, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Indeed, Allah has promised those who have believed among you and done righteous deeds. لَا يَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Allah says, He will surely grant them succession to authority upon the earth. Allah will surely establish them upon the surface of the earth, just as He granted it to those before them. And that He will surely establish for them وَلَا يُمَكِّنَنَّهُمْ دِينَهُمْ الَّذِي ارْتَدَى لَهُمْ. And that He will surely establish for them therein their religion which He has preferred for them. And that وَلَا يُبَدِّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. And that He will surely substitute for them after this fear, security, rest of mind, tranquility. For they worship me, not associating anything with me. Allah says, but whoever disbelieves after that, then those are the definitely disobedient. So it is on this premise that we want Allah, we beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cause this Quranic recitation as first of all, a means of seeking and attaining security all over the globe in general, and in our country and our respective locations. In particular, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should grant us security. We pray that He grants us rest of mind. He grants us peace from all of our worries, and that the hitherto state of security, state of harmony that we had enjoyed in this country, we pray that Allah should restore that state back to us, and that all concerns that are forming the basis for these agitations, for this unrest, for these acts of terrorism, we pray that Allah causes them to be assuaged, such that we go back to the period of state of tranquility, state of rest of mind that allows for normal running of a nation state. On the basis of this, we are welcoming our respected brothers, members across board, our resource persons, our facilitators, the coordinators, and the entire stakeholders to this noble gathering. We pray that Allah makes it an hujjah for us and not against us. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Aminu alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much.
Jazakumullah khairan, khairan jaza. I am sure the chairman of the session is available now. But before calling on through him, I want to quickly make an introduction of our resource persons. Dr. Lukman, like we already know, is assistant professor of entrepreneurship, University of Brunei, Darussalam. I want to give the chairman the privilege of giving us his citation too while he's taking. And also we're having a co-speaker who is also an associate director of Ernst & Young, that's in person of Mr. Hakim Adebayo. So I will be leaving the podium for our chairman of education, Dr. Balogun Abdul Rashid. Is a fellow of the institute.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu wa rahmatullah.
Saladan wa lam yakun lahu sharikun la yakun lahu waliyyun musliwaka. Alhamdulillahi alaka samawati wal ard alaka nabiyyu alaka nas alaka kulli shay'in fi dunya wal akhirah. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. We thank Almighty Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, fast the owner of everything that exists before, now, and will exist after. We thank Almighty Allah for giving us the mercy and benefit to exist and also remain up to today. Many have existed and they have gone long before the birth of the prophet, during the time of the prophet and after. And to the best ability of Allah, many will still exist after us. A time will come when all of us will cease to exist. We have to glorify His holy name for keeping us alive and giving us the grace to witness yet another Ramadan. It is not by our power, it's not by our make, it's by Allah's mercy that is giving us the life to exist. And first of all, I want to welcome everybody to this glorious occasion. And thank you for the sacrifice for Allah, sacrifice for Islam, sacrifice for humanity, and sacrifice for our existence. Because many are gathering today for any other things aside godly things. But we're here today to gather in the name of Allah and to discuss everything about us towards Islam. So I want to appreciate the organizers, our brothers, our Amir, who has been providing a very good leadership for us, and Amir Lihawal, who has been running up and down to ensure that the Islamic image is projected and we are also visible within the professional cycle. I also want to thank all our members, all EMPA members, and all the Islamic community within the ICA profession who have really given the best to ensure that we also progress. So I want to thank all our members, everyone that is participating in this program. And most importantly, let me welcome on board our resource persons, our two resource persons, Brother Lukman and the other brother, for giving your time for us. May Allah Almighty, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, continue to enrich your knowledge, continue to endow you, and continue to be your strength, and put barakah in all what you do. It's not what we give you, it's not what we offer you, but the recognition of the importance of Islam and the value you attach to this Ramadan, which has motivated you to answer our calls. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to be with you. So as we're about to commence the program, it's a very topical issue, and I will enjoy all the participants to listen attentively and let it be very interactive. Knowledge is very wide. As Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has directed us that we seek for knowledge. Even we go to China, knowledge is very key, very essential. So, and allowing that knowledge to whoever he decides. So let's make it interactive, and the brothers are sharing their experiences, their knowledge with us. Let us also contribute, and so that we can learn from one another. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our prayers. Let the knowledge, the outcome, the lessons of the lecture, let it abide by us, and let it make a significant and positive impact on our collective life. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifuna wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khair.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Now the floor is open for our resource person in person of Dr. Lukman Adelia introduced to start with the presentation. Jazakumullahu khairan. I want to mention here that okay, we'll get to that probably before the end of the program.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, alladhi bi ni'matihi tat'imu as-salihat. Thumma as-salatu was-salam ala ashrafil mursalin. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa ala alihi wa ashabi wa sallim tasliman. Ayyuhal ikhwa wal akhwat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We give thanks and praises to Almighty Allah, the Lord of the worlds. May His peace and blessings be upon the noble Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, his household, his companions, and all those who follow his footsteps till the day of judgment. To my esteemed brothers and sisters in Islam, I greet you all with the best of greetings by saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ramadan Kareem. As rightly mentioned by the moderator, we are here to do a conversation that is framed around the topic insecurity, monster or myth, Islamic antidotes. So without wasting time, why are we here? So I came up with four takeaways. The first one, we want to understand security and insecurity nexus. What's the relationship? Which one is preferred? We want to explain the types of security and insecurities in development literature, and also know that security is a monster to be avoided. So we want to know, is it a myth? Is it a monster? If it's a monster, then it should be avoided. Obviously, it's not a myth, it's a reality. Then appreciate Islamic antidote to insecurity. All this we know, but as Muslims, we need to remind ourselves in form of admonition. So my introduction actually explicated the fact that insecurity is clearly visible in Muslim countries. It's unfortunate. Somalia, Sudan, Egypt, Nigeria, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, even Palestine. It has also manifested in non-Muslim countries such as Ukraine, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Hong Kong, Venezuela, Mexico, Peru. For those who actually listen to news and watch CNN or Al Jazeera, you realize that insecurity is actually a common phenomenon in the contemporary times. What caused the incident of insecurity on earth? It is historical, and Allah lends credence to that in the glorious Quran, Surah Rum, where Allah said, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, za'al fasadu fil barri wal bahr, bima kasabat aydi'in nas, liyudhiqahum ba'da alladhi amilu la'allahum yarji'un. Qul siru fil ard, fanzur kayfa kana aqibatu alladhi min qablu, kana aktharahum mushrikin." Allah said, evil. By evil, we are talking about, the root of insecurity, fear, poverty. So evil has appeared on earth. In our own context, insecurity has appeared on earth and also in water because of the hands of men. Men manufacture insecurity. And Allah made us to taste from our own product that we have manufactured. Perhaps we will return back to Allah. Allah said, travel in the land, go to Ukraine, go to Palestine, go to Zamfara, go to different places in northern Nigeria, go to even oil-rich places in Niger Delta. You see insecurity, manifesting. So there are some places where insecurity has actually wiped away communities. So Allah wants us to learn. And most of the perpetrators of this insecurity, they are human beings. Some of them are believers, some of them are unbelievers, some of them are idol worshippers, some are not idol worshippers. So this is a verse from the glorious Quran. These are places on earth where insecurity has created mayhem. You can see children malnourished. You can see husband, wife, children displaced. You can see Ukraine, a beautiful country, turned to rubble. You can see our fathers and mothers walking helter-skelter as internally displaced. You can see our brothers and sisters looking for shelter. In the process, they found themselves in the Atlantic Ocean. Look at images of ill-fed children in Nigeria, reality. Look at our children in the north begging. Look at our children in Southwest. They should be in school. They are hawking early in the morning. These are picture reality. You can see terrorism manifesting in different parts of Nigeria because of what we have actually caused. Then let us examine Islamic sources for more insight. The word security is mentioned in Quran in 855 verses, just to underscore the importance of security, al-amnu. And the opposite of security is insecurity, adhamul hamnu. And when we say security, when you mention security, whether in Arabic lexicon or English lexicon, what comes to the mind is happiness, enjoyment, joy, and satisfaction. But when you mention the word insecurity, what comes to the mind is fear, tremor, danger, pain, hopelessness, helplessness, and helplessness. Allah wants security for us. Allah does not want insecurity for us. And that is why even in Quran, Surah of Quraysh, Allah underscored the importance of security. He said, "Li'ila fi Quraysh, ila fi imri'ila tashitai wa soif, falyabudu rabba azal bayt, alladhi af'amahum min jo'i wa amanahum min khawf." According to Mufassirun, Ibn Sirin, Ibn Kathir, they said Allah loves security. Before security was embedded among the Quraysh, what they had was insecurity. So when Allah looked at the state of security they are enjoying, Allah now used the word that sounds like wonder, exclamation, said, "Li'ila fi Quraysh." How amazing, wonderful that if we have favored the Quraysh. They are now living habitually in security, in a state of security. Before that particular verse was revealed, it was war, terror, killing, maiming. So when they now reconsider their posture and they now embrace peace, Allah said, "Li'ila fi Quraysh." How amazing, how beautiful, how wonderful that the Quraysh are now living in a state of security. They are able to transact businesses in Yemen in the winter and also in Syria in the period of summer. Interestingly, I put these two places in this verse because Allah celebrated them. As we speak, Yemen is in rubble, Syria is in crisis. So whenever you read the Quran, "Li'ila fi Quraysh, ila fi imri'ila tashitai wa soif," Allah talks about trading caravan in the time of winter and in the time of summer. Is actually talking about two important trade routes, which are Yemen and Syria. And as we speak, those places are in rubble now. They are in state of war, just to tell us that we human beings, we are the ones who create war, who create insecurity, who create mayhem on earth. Also, Allah made a promise with the believers. And part of that contract is that it's going to give you security to replace fear. So that means if we have fear on earth, if we have insecurity, we have not fulfilled our own part of the bargain. And that's exactly what the brother read in the Quran. He gave us earlier on, where Allah said, "Wa'ada Allahu alladhina amanu minkum wa amilu salihat la yastaklifannahum fil ard kama staklafa alladhina min qablihim wa la yumakkinanna lahum dinahum alladhi irtada lahum wa la yubaddilannahum min ba'di khawfihim amna." Khawf, fear, amna, security. Provided ya'budunani, you worship me, la yushrikuna bi shay'an, and you don't associate any partner with me in worship. Another one, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. Whosoever transgress, disbelief after this particular pact, they are the rebellious. So Muslims today and Muslim nations, we are rebellious. And that is why we have been visited with insecurity. So the question is, what is insecurity? Because this is a professional body and we should do things professionally. So I read so many development literature. I'm not satisfied with the definition, but the best one I got was from American Psychological Association. That is APA, that we all quote. APA define insecurity as a multifaceted sense of uncertainty or anxiety about your worth, ability, skills, and value. It conveys the message that people, community, and country are at risk or in danger. The negative impact of insecurity could be physical, mental, and emotional. With insecurity, people, community, and countries cannot accomplish their functions effectively or attain full potential. True or false with respect to Nigeria? Is it true or false?
It is true.
That is the reality. There are so many brilliant children in the north, in the southwest, in the south, but because of insecurity, they have been rendered, as orphans. Their hope is shattered. The vision is actually destroyed. Ditto for Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan, and so on and so forth. Also, Inter-American Institute of Human Rights defines security, which is the opposite of insecurity, as referring to freedom from fear and want, which is among the inalienable rights of human. It centers on territorial integrity, political stability, military and defense arrangement, and economy and financial activities. When you are insecure, you are caged, like that man in the bottle. He is caged, he is denied of fresh air, freedom, and also liberty. And danger, poison, fear are actually the element of insecurity. So is insecurity a monster or a myth? Of course, insecurity is unquestionably a monster. Yesterday, it was a monster. Allah mentioned it in Surah Al-Quraysh. Today, it's a monster, and always it will continue to be a monster if it's not tamed. One of the foremost revivalists in our time, Sayyid Abu Alama Ududi, in his tafsir called Tafhim al-Quran, he dwelled more on the verses I quoted earlier on, the word secure against fear that Allah used in Surah Al-Quraysh. He said all the scholars of tafsir, they all agree that pre-Quraysh era was characterized by war, fear, insecurity. But when they embraced Islam, Allah made their life better. So Allah now revealed that verse to celebrate his own accomplishment by saying, Li'ila fi Quraysh. How amazing that we have favored the Quraysh. They have abandoned previous warmongering. They have abandoned previous practices of fighting one another. Now they are happy. Things are progressing. They are able to conduct business in the winter and also in the summer. If you ask our brothers and sisters in so many parts of the world, do they carry out business? The answer is no. They feed on gifts from the United Nations and some other people, which is quite shameful. So insecurity is a monster to be avoided, because when you are insecure, it will prevent free speech. It will not allow for religious freedom. It will not allow for economic progress. It will not allow for human development. So all these things are really missing in Muslim society and in Muslim community. So Allah affirms that and promised to protect his prophet from the ravages of insecure social, economic, and political environment during his own time. Because without security, you can't preach effectively. You'll be afraid, you'll be hopeless, you'll be helpless. So Allah down to President, don't be afraid. Baligma unzila ilayk. Convey the message from your Lord to the people. If you want to fear them, Allah will protect you. Wallahu yasimuka minan nas. That is, Allah will grant you security, social security, economic security, political security from the enemies, those who create fear in the land. This is to tell us that security and insecurity are reality. They are not myths. Furthermore, scholars, policymakers, and development agency, they said that there are 7 types of security that we must have. And you also have 7 types of insecurity, because the opposite of security is insecurity. If you read development literature of the United Nations Development Program and other UN publications, they will tell you that human beings You and me, we need 7 security. 1, economic security, food security, health security, environmental security, personal security, community security, and political security. The opposite of that is this. Once you don't have security, you are going to have insecurity. We have 7 types or dimensions of security. By extension, 7 types of insecurity. When somebody is not secure economically, the person will lack means of livelihood, as we are going to see in subsequent slides. So this is the comparison. Economic security means you must have economic means to sustain yourself and your family. Once you have persistent poverty, unemployment, destitution, that is insecurity. Food security, you must have enough food to feed your family, but in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria particularly, hunger, famine, desertification has actually unleashed problem of food insecurity on us. And that is why food is very, very expensive. This Ramadan is terrible. It's coming up at a time when things are very hard. COVID-19 is still very much active and there's political instability. That leads to health security. Once we cannot get good delivery health services, it leads to health insecurity. Massive deadly infectious diseases, unsafe food, malnutrition, lack of access to basic health care. People eat all sorts of concussion today because they cannot afford the conventional health facilities. Environmental security. Today, look at Niger Delta, look at various parts of the country. There's environmental degradation, there's resources depletion, natural disaster, pollution, and so on and so forth. Even if you travel, you are not guaranteed of getting to your place of destination in security, in a secure state. Look at 2-3 weeks ago, some people traveled by rail and they were attacked by bandits, by kidnappers, by killers, by murderers. That is because we lack environmental security. Personal security, physical violence, crime, terrorism, domestic violence, child labor, community security, inter-ethnic, religious, and other identity-based tension. They are very, very common in Nigeria. Jos, Zamfara, Adamawa, and even in some places, even in the southeast, they fight among themselves based on little ethnic issues. Political insecurity is gathering momentum in different parts of the world. Look at Russia, Ukraine, Nigeria, political gladiators. They are already, making the environment tense already. Religious emotion is being, used. Oh, it is Ashibaju. Oh, it is Ashiwaju. That is how they start political insecurity, which may metamorphose into crisis, killing, and maiming. So this is a reality from the development literature. And at the level of international relations and foreign policy, this is the map of the world. This is the map of the world. They have classified countries into various dimensions based on the level of security, political stability, and so on and so forth. There are nations that are described as dysfunctional nations. Some are described as nations with low authority. Some are described as nations with low capacity, depending on the color. Some low legitimacy, some semi-functional, and some well-functioning. Of course, well-functioning are US, Canada, United States, and what have you. Where is Nigeria? So I use another classification by the same body. Today, I exclude so many countries. I'm only focusing on Muslims because we're in the month of Ramadan. Failed nations, the 5 most recognized failed nations are Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Yemen. Look at Syria and Yemen. Allah revealed a verse, that we have made those places secure for international trade during winter and summer. But because of our lackadaisical attitude, because of our belligerent stubbornness, we fell, into the hands of the destroyers. And these states have been rubbish today. These are historical places. Failing states. Somalia is failing. Sudan is failing. Ethiopia is failing. Mali is failing. Nigeria is also failing. I'm not the one that did the classification. It's done by international organization. Muslim nations that are struggling to become developed countries, to match shoulder to shoulder with America, China, and the like, they are classified as nation on watch list. Iran, Turkey, they are really advancing technologically, educationally, in all ramifications, but they are on the watch list. They want to get them destroyed. Because of time, what are the antidotes? The antidotes are basically four. We are all intellectuals. The first solution is preparedness. We must be prepared to safeguard our nation from insecurity. And if you have insecurity currently, find a way of making preparation to change that insecurity to what? Secure state. By coming up with positive responses, we are going to see what they mean. And those that are really suffering, we develop a recovery plan. And every one of us, old, young, Muslim, Yoruba, Hausa, we should mitigate future reoccurrence. We allow enemy to enter into northern Nigeria and they unleash mayhem through indoctrination, terrorism, radicalization. They wasted so many generations. They turned promising children to Boko Haram and so on and so forth. Now, the Fulani cattle areas also being used for the same thing, to make Nigeria insecure and by extension, West Africa. So specifically, what are we supposed to do? One, we need to go back to our book, Comprehensive Understanding of Islam. We have so many scholars, even in Ramadan, instead of teaching us Islam, they will be fighting over, pedigree. I'm more knowledgeable than you. And so they left us with what is called poverty of idea. We don't know the right from the left. So we need to go back and read about our religion, read about the importance of Islamic education and so-called Western education. It's not Western education. It's just non-religious education, or what we can call secular education. Both are important. Once you have one and you don't have the other, there'll be a problem. And that's exactly what we have today. Some don't know Islam. They look at Islam as just praying and fasting. No, according to Imam Hassan al-Banna, he said Islam is a comprehensive system dealing with all spheres of life. It is a state, a homeland, or a government, a nation. It is morality and power, or mercy and justice. It is a culture and a law, a gain and prosperity. It is jihad and a call, or army and mission. And finally, it is true belief and worship. The last one is what we have adhered to. True belief and worship. Fine. Go to Mecca, fast, and so on and so forth. But how about the superstructure, what you build on faith and iman? Political system, economic system, viable nation, morality, power, mercy, justice, court system, the culture, economic prosperity. All these are very, very important. Because of time, let's go to the second one. The second one is that we should start preaching what is called Maqasid Sharia, the 5 principles of Islamic law. If you pick Quran and Hadith, this is the summary. Quran has come to the world and Hadith to preserve religion, Ifzuddin. But do we preserve religion? No. To preserve souls, you shouldn't kill, Ifzunnafs. Also to protect intellectualism. It is our responsibility to travel, the length and breadth of the earth and to even to go to the heavens for science, technology, reflection. That's what is called Ifzul Akil, to protect the brain by learning, by reading. Also, we must protect the offspring, the generation yet unborn. And that is what is called sustainable development. A development that is beneficial to the present generation and that will not harm the future generation. So we must ensure that we preserve the future generation. And more importantly, preserve the wealth. The wealth of every nation, the wealth of the world should be preserved. Now we have central bank, we have Ministry of Finance, and we have people appointed to take charge of all this. But what do? They steal all this money. And that is why our people are in poverty, in penury, in destitution. Frustration, hopelessness, helplessness, and an angry man is, of course, An hungry man is, of course, an angry man. Number 3 is work and entrepreneurship. Muslim must work. Look at our brother Dangote. For those of us who have read about his biography, he left the north with a borrowed 10,000 naira from his uncle with blessings and prayer. And today, look at what he has done. It is not new. Read about Dangote. He learned in good Islamic schools where he learned real entrepreneurship of Ibn Khaldun. And so many people have followed in his footsteps in the north and in the south, like Folawiyo. They are very, very rich. But today, do we do that? It is the model of Abraham ibn Auf. They go to the market, study the market dynamics, fundamentals, and they learn and they become wealthy. From their wealth, they liberate so many people from poverty, from penury, from problem of the world. But today, we have very few rich people on earth, and that is why Muslims are very, very poor. Number 4, we must go back to Islamic institution, socio-economic equilibrium institution like zakat, sadaqat, and waqf because of time. And also, we must return to Islamic values. You know, this Islamic value will eradicate terrorism, radicalization, extremism, and some other things. Some of the things I propose are act with justice. Our governors, our councillors, our president, are they really implementing justice? The court system, are they really implementing justice? Lack of justice has created insecurity, some type of insecurity, personal insecurity, community insecurity, etc. Excellence and goodness, al-khairiyah. We must do good deeds, charity, good neighborliness to bring about social cohesion. We must assist one another. We must cooperate within the community. Balanced thoughts. We must avoid extreme thoughts. You know, somebody who's not a Muslim, kill that person. No, it's not part of Islam. These are extreme thoughts. You must have what is called a tawassut, something that is balanced, a balanced thought. Then we must have emotional fitness, because insecurity will come, but when you have emotional fitness, that will prevent you from going to extreme. If you are poor and you have emotional fitness, then you'll be able to rely on Almighty Allah. The Muslim nations, Muslim countries, Muslim community should not abandon what is called jihad in all its ramifications. I'm not saying war. War is part of jihad, but jihad goes beyond fighting. Fighting is the last. What about economic empowerment? It is jihad. Political empowerment, it is jihad. And that is what is called al-quwwa. Allah said it clearly in the glorious Quran that be prepared, you know, acquire power in order for you to be able to influence things around you. Rethink politics. Islam acts politics. And why do we have to rethink politics? Because of good governance. What we have currently is bad governance, and bad governance brings all the 7 dimensions of insecurity. The new economics. The economics we have today is based on interest, exploitation, and extortion. But the Islamic concept of economy called al-itisadi is based on fairness, social equilibrium, empowerment, and progress. And finally, for those who have unleashed extremism, terrorism, those who are creating and manufacturing war, it is not part of Islam. Islam adopts moderation called al-wasatiyah, which is the opposite of extremism. These are the things that I propose as a solution. In conclusion, Islam is not a temporary system that fits into a specific historical era. These are quotations from Sayyid Qutb. Nor is it a local system set up for merely a certain generation or a particular environment. It is, in fact, the basic system ordained by Allah for the dynamic human life. The system entails ideological ideals. These are things that UN propagates, things that we have lost, which expand the nature of the universe and determine the position of man. Islam doctrines and organizations include ethical foundation and its sustaining power, political system, together with its forms and characteristics, the social order and its basis and value, the economic doctrine, which is philosophy and institution, and the international organism, which is interrelation. With all this, I believe that Islam is Deen Mustaqbal, the future religion. So for those who have read this book, let us go and read it again and start putting it into practice. May Almighty Allah make it easy for us. I want to conclude by saying that change the instruments and you will change the entire social theory that goes with it. That is from Bruno Lato. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa
Walaikum
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The chairman of the session, please.
Allahu Akbar.
Let's praise
Allahu Akbar.
Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar.
for that wonderful and epical
Allahu Akbar.
about this topic. We thank you very much. It cuts across all sector, all aspects of insecurity. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to enrich your knowledge and build your capacity. So thank you very much. As we can see, our brother has talked much about the insecurity all over the world, not only in Nigeria. And from what he has said, we can see that we are tending toward Al-Asri, which Quran has told us that towards the end of the world, a lot of things will be happening. Just this morning, I was reading an article about how two Russian soldiers raped an Ukrainian woman. They took advantage of the war situation and they raped her for almost 12 hours in the presence of her 4 children. This is Al-Asri. And what is happening in Nigeria also is something that all of us are be witnessing. And it has shown that definitely we are moving away from the doctrine of Quran and Allah. Like the brother, we're in a secular society and a lot of natures of different categories of human beings. So, but as Muslims, we'll be able to distinguish ourselves and so that we uphold the tenet of Islam and let the Islam in us teach others on what Allah requires us to do. So now, having thanked our brother for that very impressive deliverables, and we now call on our members to contribute, ask questions, or even make some input in terms of addition to what you have said, so that we can also gain and benefit. So, and the question, we wanted to make it very brief so that we can give a chance to the other lecturers to commence his own as soon as possible. So the floor is open for our brothers and sisters to make comments and ask questions on the lectures.
Okay, we are having, as part of people who have indicated to ask questions, Mr. Apankpa asking you. Can you please go ahead with your question?
Now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, I will really thank the lecturer for that wonderful lecture. I want to ask, based on what he said about the types and the antidote of insecurity. My question is this: how do we now solve insecurity challenges when we as a nation, we do not even accept that we have insecurity challenge at all? How do we solve when we don't even accept in the first instance that there is an insecurity challenges? So that is my question.
Yeah, the problem is that those who are leading us, many of them themselves do not know the definition of insecurity. And that is why I gave you the definition. Once you know that Nigeria is not secure, Yemen is not secure, Saudi Arabia is not secure, the next thing is to sit down and find a way out. And that is why I said the solution starts with us. Let us have comprehensive understanding of Islam. Let us know what is called Maqasidu Sharia. If we know that, we are going to be secure within ourselves. We are going to secure our family, and we start securing our mosques and the community. And that particular revolution will continue to spread. If you ask some radical people that what is their view coexisting with non-Muslims, they are not people that to live with, they should be killed. And if you ask non-Muslim to maybe a Christian, they don't like Muslims. These are wrong attitude. Tinubu sponsors so many Christians to become visible in politics. But look at what is being, look at the way it's being repaid. Betrayal, name calling. It is because of this mutual suspicion. But we as Muslims, let us have the correct understanding first. If we have the correct understanding, we'll be able to implement all this agenda correctly, and others will emulate us. Because majority of people out there, they don't know. And that is why I say, Walakina Taranos La Yalamun. Majority don't know. That's why they are called masses or populists. But for those of us who know, let us radiate what we know in our place of work, in our community, in our environment, and start seeing changes coming. Allah Allah.
Any other question before we?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.
Actually, as the chairman of the session, I will not be in a position to ask questions as to oversee this session, but to provide more insights, because insecurity is everybody's business. And where we find ourselves today, worldwide, not only Nigeria, is unfortunate. And I just see it as the fulfillment of the revelation of Quran, that toward anniversary, a lot of things as prophet has even also justified in some of his sins. We will be seeing a lot of things, what the others will go into anarchy. And that's what is happening today. And there are many things that motivated these happenings, these occurrences. There are many factors which are diverse in nature. Like within the Nigeria perspective, we see that hunger, poverty, and lack of satisfaction about the governance has led to our insecurity. And again, there are some politically motivated insecurity in Nigeria. Just like on one platform, which the governor of Kogi State belong, and we are discussing there. So people are talking about the grid, national power grid that collapsed 3 times within a week. So I was telling them that some insecurity were created by the people saddled with the responsibility of providing security for the masses. Because when they give them security votes, and for them to justify spending of this money, they deliberately created insecurity. Because you can't justify how hoodlums got access to weapons. Who imported them? Don't you have customs officers along across our borders? And you see them with sophisticated weapons. So somebody sponsor them. When they give them, they create that insecurity so that they can now spread the votes now to counter that insecurity again. And who are the people that bear the brunt? The masses. Then where I want to really talk about, what I want to talk about is the people that are identified as terrorists and these bandits. Because when you go to the other crime, like South, their belief is that it's Muslims that are causing this insecurity. They see Muslims as violent people, except you give them the orientation. Because these people that are involved, some reports that we got, that after they kidnap people, they go back to the bush, they now pray. When spirit has one, then they will pray. They have had the prayer bed, they commit this atrocity. When they ask them, they say they are doing their business, because other people are doing business, they go to their work, do business, and they still worship God. But all what I say about this is lack of deep understanding about Islamic practice. Islam does not preach violence. So from all this, we have to, but as Muslim true believers, Mu'min and Mu'minat, we have to safeguard ourselves. We have to define our limit of our leadership in where we find ourselves today. We have to work. When you stand by Allah, when you stand with Allah, when you follow Allah's principles and the practice, when you abide by the teachings of Holy Prophet, Allah will guide you. I always tell people, when you are, even if you are within the area that insecurity is prevailing, if you are with Allah truly, wallahi, when they touch all other houses, they will not reach your house, because Allah's protection, because that's the ultimate protection. So we should try as much as possible to imbibe the culture of Islam, and definitely Allah will protect us. So may Allah continue to guide us, guide people that are leading us because this thing is beyond Buhari, it's beyond some of our leaders. But inshallah, we are peace in due course.
Jazakumullah khairan to the chairman of the session.
I want to thank the chairman. Hello, I want to thank the chairman for this beautiful intervention. He has actually summarized my lecture. So you should go on with 4 P's. The 4 P, profess true Islam. That's number 1. The chairman said it. Number 2, practice true Islam. Practice true Islam. Number 3, propagate true Islam. And number 4, preserve true Islam. If you do these 4 things, as he has rightly mentioned, even if security becomes pervasive, Allah said, "La awfun alayhim wala yahzanun." Grief and fear will not be yours, will not be your portion, because you are practicing Islam, you profess through Islam, you practice through Islam, you propagate through Islam, and you preserve through Islam. Allah.
Jazakumullah khairan to the presenter and the chairman as well. We have some more questions here. Among them, we have from Mr. J. Bakari. Mr. J. Bakari, question is that building and enduring institutions for the Muslim Ummah like we have for good EMPA members who can guarantee security of finances, use of doing business, okay, of the entrepreneurship can play a long way. Saying doing that can go a long way. Only if it could be replicated by the so-called other Muslims.
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah,
it's right. Yeah, the first thing is spread the knowledge, then create the institution. Now we have so many zakat foundations, we have so many endowments, we have so many foundations, but let them have programs for widows, orphans, education empowerment, and also entrepreneurship. I know Jay's Zakat gives funds for empowerment. Zakat and Sarakat Foundation gives support for entrepreneurship. In fact, currently there is a sort of a promotion for business plan competition, and they have been doing that for the past 8 years. So if we replicate this in different climes, in the north, in the south, I know in the north they have Waqfu, they have Zakat. Well, let us give zakat that will empower, not just give food 1 week. Zakat should supposed to empower people to be able to stand on their own, not just peanuts for sustenance for 1 week. So that is my response on that. Institutions are very, very necessary. And we all should play a role in institution through our little donation. Allah.
Thanks so much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Hold on, we'll be calling on to the next person to ask a question, but we actually have some written one we want to just indicate by raising up your hand. That will be noticed and you'll be called upon now. Sorry for saying that. But we have the resource person is being thanked for a very beautiful presentation. Then the question now is, we keep hearing that the people in power are the ones behind the insecurities for political purposes. So it's trying to say, how do we juxtapose that?
Well, it is an allegation, but there are some truism in them. But the most important thing, and that is why I said, those of you who call yourself professionals, academics, and what have you, show interest in politics. In politics to people of character. What we are having currently is what we have. Look at Turkey. For your information, the president of Turkey, Erdogan, has the whole of Quran in his brain. He's a scholar and he's also an educated person. He has started politics even at the grassroots level. The council chairman, before the prime minister, and now the president. So let us take politics as part of Islam. Let us throw away the wrong notion that politics is for the bad among us. No, in Islamic fiqh, politics exists. Politics, in fact, is defined as a way of administering the affairs of men and taking care of religion. That is the definition of politics in Islam. So don't let us leave administration to people of questionable integrity. If you do that, they will unleash mayhem and insecurity on the society. If you remember Quran chapter 2, verse 31, Allah said, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. I want to create on earth vicegerent. What is not vicegerent? These are individuals who manage human, material, financial resources on the surface of the earth for the people of God and to please Allah. So we have left it to, the vagabonds, the shenanigans. So they are doing whatever they like with our resources. Look at what the governor of Borno State is doing. He's spending the money wisely. He's touching lives. That is what everybody should be doing. But we left it to those who are there just to make money. Some of them cannot define economics. Some of them cannot manage their home. And you want them to manage the community. You want them to manage the country. You want to manage the state. Of course, they will rubbish the state. And that's exactly what we are having. Allah
Allah. The next person we'll be calling on to for his question is Mr. Olaniyi Emiabata. Mr. Olaniyi Abata.
Yeah,
So
assalamu
while we are doing that, we want to apologize for going to cut the question sessions short. We'll be closing this session by 12 so that we can move on to the other section, which I'm sure members too will not want to miss out. Okay, you can go ahead, Mr. Emiabata.
Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Mansour Olaiwole Emiabata. The question is on to the speaker, is to connect, is there any relationship between justice and insecurity? Some of the places you mentioned, particularly Ukraine and Russia currently, has it got to do with justice? You mentioned Myanmar, you mentioned Venezuela, even in Palestine. And as Muslims, when we feel that we have been unjustly dealt with, how do we respond? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
There is a relationship between justice and insecurity. Number one, every Friday in most parts of the world, the Imam will announce during the second khutbah, say, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar wal baghi ya'izukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. If you remove justice from the affairs of man, you are moving towards injustice and rancor, mayhem. So because we don't have justice at international level, United Nations and other organs, regional, local, international, in the global politics. And that is why the big guys, they are always right, whether they do what is good or what is right. So justice can cause insecurity. So what you have in Ukraine, we are not taking side because there are some undercurrents, some things we don't know in international politics between America, Russia, and so on and so forth. Because in the international politics, there are people who are very powerful. The rest of us, they call us peripheral nation. When they have finished eating and they have decided issues, that is when they pass the bowl and the crumbs to us. So some things we don't understand, but we know the foundation of the problem in Ukraine is rooted in injustice and what we can call zulumu. Zulumu, of course, is part of injustice or things that are very, very cloudy and very, very ambiguous. So we should avoid ambiguity because it leads to insecurity. Even Nigeria, look at the problem of Boko Haram. It is also ambiguous. It's rooted in injustice. That some people meted out some guys, which later on became, a terrorist group, and before you know it, it became a national crisis. Look at the militants in the Niger Delta. Some people exploited the resources of the Niger Delta, and they destroyed their water, their land, and they made them hopeless and helpless, and those guys became terrorists and militants. So everywhere where you have insecurity, it is rooted in injustice. Allah Allah.
Okay, Jazakumullah khairan. We'll be calling on Mrs. Waliullah. Please go ahead with your question. Alaja Waliullah, you are about speaking the only time. And I think you are still having your hands raised up. Mrs. Waliullah, are you there?
Hello, Assalamu
man.
I'm not
a woman wanted to speak
Okay,
earlier.
sorry, I was actually thinking it's the woman.
Okay, let's give the woman who wanted to ask question earlier on, so I will become gender sensitive. It's part of the justice of Islam. Our sister or our mother, please go ahead and ask your question. It will be on record. We attended to question of the woman.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
My name is Hussein Ayuguda. I'm from the north. You know, actually, I want to commend the speaker and the association itself. What is happening in the south, in the Yoruba side, is entirely different from what is happening here in the north. And our major problem is we lack this association and societies like the ones you have in Yoruba side. All these Nasrullah and all the Islamic associations, we don't have them. And to promote women and the children and all this Al-Majri issue, it's becoming a very, very big issue in the north. We don't know how to handle it. Can the speaker give us some suggestions, please? Because you know the Al-Majris, most of them are the ones becoming terrorists. They are the ones being taken over by some people on the road and then being fed, being given clothes and everything, and then they become terrorists. They do their actions for them. You see small boy coming to your house and then...
Yeah, I think we lost our mother, but the question is well understood. The reality is that Muslims don't have poverty of ideas. Muslims do not have poverty of ideas.
So my problem is this association. How do we promote it in the north to help our all these Al-Majris on the streets? I don't know. I've been thinking over it over and over, sir. Okay,
I think the first thing is to join this association is very, very important. If you're a member of the ICANN and you're a Muslim or you practice accounting profession, you can join them. It's very, very easy. But on the question you asked, how do we solve the problem of radicalization, Al-Majri phenomenon, and what have you? I've lived in the north, particularly Adamawa, for 3.5 years, so I know what you are talking about. You see, one of the reasons why Sanusi Lamido was removed and people are not comfortable with him is because he has bundle of ideas. Lamido has solution, has blueprint that can solve so many things in the north, but some don't like it. He mentioned severally how to solve the problem of Al-Majiri. The government vote a lot of money into education at primary level, at secondary level. Even the present government, they are feeding children in school with billions of naira. But the question is, where are the children in the north? So you need to work on the scholars. You need to work on the parents. You need to work on traditional rulers. Once you get these three people, these three stakeholders, those who give birth to them, let them understand the concept of child rearing, parenting. Let the Islamic scholars do the same thing on the minbar. Let the government, local government, state government be alive to their responsibility, and let the traditional ruler, who is highly revered, highly respected, let these four people come together and implement the agenda, the blueprint of our revered Emir, Sanusi Lamido. You are going to make North one of the best places on earth, because Allah has blessed those places with resources, human, but because of greed, indoctrination, bad governance, and that is why you have what you have in the North. So at the end of this program, you can chat me or anybody. We are going to link you with some Islamic organization here, and you may be a bridge to establish such among the intellectuals in the North. So every Sunday, you can discuss online, look at what you can do to bring an end to this particular phenomenon. I know Professor Bilikisu is here. He's our mother in Adamawa, a professor, and currently I think the deputy vice chancellor. She's attending this program. I know she's here. She's also full of ideas, and she's very, very active in NGO. So with all this, I think we can solve the problem. Allah Alam.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you, sir. I will chat you up.
Okay, Jazakumullah khairan. For the sake of time, I wonder if we'll be able to take more questions. But then I noticed Waliullah, who happens to be a...
Take one from Professor Bilikisu. Take one from Professor Bilikisu.
Okay, that slot is given to you for Professor Bilikisu. That will be after Waliullah, because once we take that of Professor Bilikisu, then we'll be closing session for the next session. So, Mr. Waliullah, not Mrs. Go ahead.
Now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Jazakumullah khairan to our lecturer and to the platform, to the association that organized this online program. Then my first question is, how do we handle Muslims, or not Muslims who do not understand Islam very well, or those who attack Islam if anything is happening pertaining to insecurity in Nigeria? For example, I was with somebody last week. Person just shouted, when something is happening, saying so because Buhari is a Muslim. She's now attacking the Muslim as if they are the one causing the insecurity. So some people, they just listen to you to attack you, or to respond. They don't listen to you to understand.
Yeah.
So how do we tackle people like that?
The first one is you see what I presented. The last part, I talk about Islamic virtues. Islamic virtues. Anybody who is a preacher or who is a Muslim that wants to gain soul, one should be knowledgeable. That's number one. Then with your knowledge, you shouldn't argue, rather educate. So please, let's maintain decorum. You shouldn't argue with people, but you provide information convincingly. Call to the way of Allah, with wisdom, with beautiful words. If somebody attacks Islam, the first thing is to smile. Tell that person what you are saying is absolutely wrong. There are so many undercurrents that you don't know. So many people who are terrorists who are not Muslims, they camouflage. It is called what is called identity theft. Identity theft. So most of the people who started this terrorism thing, they may have beard. They may say Allah Akbar. Some of them are terrorists. They are not Muslims, but they enter into the Muslim fold. They wear beard like us. They quote Quran like us to indoctrinate our children, telling them that they are fighting for Islam. That is what led to terrorism in the north. They captured some of these innocent boys and promised them heaven and earth. That is number one. Then three, our scholars should also talk to people in the mosques. We have so many Muslims who are confused. They are Muslim, but they are confused. But by telling people the reality in the mosque, they become better informed. So don't be provoked. And if somebody wants to provoke you, you should be peaceful. It's part of the Islamic value that we have lost. Allah says, Wa ibadu Rahman, the true servant of Allah, alladina yamshuna ala al-hawdu. They are those who walk on the surface of the earth with humility. Wa idha khafifa ja'ilun qalu salama. When the ignorant people insult them, provoke them, they say, peace, peace, peace. For most time, we don't want to say peace. We carry petrol, kerosene, and match. Want to burn churches, want to burn mosques, because we love self-restraint. So let us go back to Islamic value. If you use all these, you are going to immobilize the enemy of Islam, and they will respect Islam. Look at Mufti Menk, he will smile even at those who are attacking Islam. Look at Dr. Knight, they will smile before providing intellectually rich response. But most of us, we don't have intellectually rich response. What we have is anger for anger, stone for stone, petrol for petrol. No, that is not Islam. Peace, peace, peace. And That's the name of Islam. Allah Alam. So let us take Professor Bilikisu and wrap it up.
Bilikisu, please.
To assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my brothers and sisters. It's a pleasure being here with you, and I have been around from the beginning up to this level. And thank you very much, Dr. Lukman, for your wonderful presentation. You know, many times I wanted to bring him over to Zamfara when I was the Deputy Vice Chancellor then, but Dr. Rahimi refused to come and stay with us, even though I don't blame him due to a lot of issues that came up, honestly, but I was not happy. Even very recently, I was complaining that I could not bring him to Zamfara. And now I have moved to University of Abuja. I have left Zamfara also due to the prevailing circumstances that we are all aware of, you know, the insecurity. And naturally, people who are a little bit, you know, on the upper level, you know, we are subject to attack. So naturally, we were proactive as a family, and we had to relocate to a University of Abuja now. That's where I'm living. And to my sister Hussaina, I wanted to provide information. What you are saying that we don't have association, we have many of them. You know, all these MSS, you know, you can ask Brother Rahimi, he will tell you, you know, all the other arms that they have, all their associations, they have their own versions in the North. The only problem with the North is that we are not as active. And that has to be built into our culture, which is very sad. As he said earlier, you know, Emir Sanusi has tried, you know, by providing information, by looking at the problems. You know, if you look at all his lectures, they are about showing and bringing out the problems, because the solutions are not easy to come by. You know, most of them are built into our tradition and culture and family system. You know, because I'm coming from Zamfara, and you know, my own local government, which was Shinkafi, was a no-go area some few months ago. And you know, for your information also, this insecurity you are seeing, it's not about Almajiri boys or whatever. My husband has been so involved in all these issues of insecurity. And it is so sad to tell you that these things, there are some powers that be that are behind the insecurity in Northwest. They are beyond what we can see with our eyes. You know, I'm a Fulani from real Fulani hamlet from my mother's side. And by God's grace, I was able to be educated. My father is also Fulani. I'm a thoroughbred Fulani. And I know what Fulani people are like. So how is it not possible, or is it possible for us to just notice that Fulanis in the last 10 years have just been turned into monsters? So there must be somebody who is teaching them, who is coaching them, and who is telling them. You know, I came across a small video from, you know, the most terrorist. That is the person they call Turji. So if you come to meet Turji, you realize that Turji is nothing but a village person, but somebody who is so uneducated, who is unaware, who has been used. And it will surprise you to know that right now in Shinkafi, Turji is the chief security officer, because he has his own helocs, he has his boys that he's going around Shinkafi. You just listen to the news now, and you realize that the insecurity in Zamfara has shifted to other areas. It has left Shinkafi and Zulmi, where it is the most endemic few months ago, because Turji is there now providing security to the people. And if you listen to Turji, he's always telling people that they should be aware, you know, we have to listen to them, that their cows cannot deliver, they cannot give birth to guns. So these guns are being given to them. So the insecurity in Zamfara and other northern core-north places, especially Northwest, you know, it is being engineered by more sophisticated, more intelligent people among the politicians and the security agents. And their essence is not for their own gains, whether it is financial, whether it is whatever. And some of my family members have been kidnapped in September, 5 of them. And you know, to secure them, you know, we had to pay ransom also. And in the process, one of my co-wife's brothers even lost his life. So, you know, I have been part of it. I know what is happening very well in the North. So it is beyond only Al-Majiri system and what you can see. So my sister Hussein, please link up with me so that we can discuss this further, and I will let you know. I will link you up to other organizations, even female organizations. A lot of them that are Islamic, that are full of educated females, Muslims, very good people. So what I would say here is that it's very unfortunate for us that, you know, our own family system gave chance for these people to use our boys, use the villagers, and the same thing happened also in the Northeast. If you look at it, Borno used to exist peacefully. So what happened that suddenly things changed in the last 10 years? Yeah. So it's the same thing. There are CIA agents, there are other agents. My belief strongly, and from what we know very closely of the insecurity, it's just like that our people have, you know, it's like they provided the material by being there in plenty number to be used, by being uneducated. You know, sometimes I get so emotional when I'm looking at these things because of what I know about it. So may Allah be with us, may Allah be our guide, and Brother Lukman, even though you have run away, you are still our brother, will continue pursuing you. And inshallah, we'll work together for the betterment of the Islamic society in Nigeria and beyond. Inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma. I will link up. I will definitely link up, inshallah.
Okay, so my pleasure.
I want to submit that is actually a comment rather than a question. So much we love chewing the meat for a very long time, like the Yorubas will say, but then the esophagus do not permit us to continue swallowing it. So on that basis, we'll be calling this session to a halt, and then we'll be going on to the next session. The next session, like we rightly know, is that has to do with an arm of our profession, which is current development in Nigerian tax ecosystem. To do justice to that, we'll be having my able brother, whom some of us who have listened to his professional presentation in the area of finance and accounting before, we acknowledge that. That person is Mr. Hakim, who is a member of ACCA, also a member of ICANN as well as CITN. Mr. Hakim is a Microsoft certified system engineer and a holder of MBA Finance at the University of London. He is also a computer science graduate with distinction and first class graduate of applied accounting from Oxford University, UK, like we know. Also, Mr. Hakim is currently an associate director at EY, where he focuses on the provision of tax, accounting, and payroll services to various clients. For some of us, that might be unsolicited adverts, which we can key into. He has more than 50 years experience, work experience across different specializations. He has been decorated with few awards of excellence by academic institutions and professional body, and is also employer and also employers because of his career. To chair this session, we'll be calling on no other person than our one and only Mr. Said Lassisi, GM. Mr. Said Lassisi. I just want to be sure that Mr. Said Lassisi is still with us. Hello.
You need to move everybody because some people left the speaker and
we'll be
disrupting the meeting.
Exactly, we'll be muting.
There are a lot of people that are not muted, so if they are not speaking, let them mute the speaker. So don't disrupt the meeting.
We'll do just that.
Okay.
That has been done, so we can go ahead.
So I'll be Karim.
We
give thanks to Almighty Allah for the gift of life and the spirit of Ramadan. We pray continue to answer our desires. So first of all, let me commend the first chairman, Brother Balogun, my brother, and my brother also, Brother Lukman Ibrahim. So it's nice seeing you again on our Empire program after a while. So thanks so much for a wonderful lecture. May Allah reward you.
All the time.
Yeah, in the light of that, so I hereby declare open the second topic, and let us please listen attentively to the speaker. Like I said, by meeting our speaker. So if you want to say anything, you can indicate by raise of hands and you'll be recognized. Thank you so much.
But the boys investigation. Nobody investigation.
You can go on now. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Can you please confirm you can hear me loud and clear from the other end?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Alhamdulillah.
Well, you can. I think if you can make it a bit clearer, it's better. But we can hear you as well.
Yeah, I think that is just a network issue, and to avoid that, I have two different modes here, with the intention of shifting from one to another in case there is any each as the case may be. But hopefully, there wouldn't be any. In case you are struggling to hear me, the moderator should please let me know so that I can do something. In line with that, I will switch off the video. I need to straighten the bandwidth a bit. Yeah. So I appreciate MPAN's invitation and consistent effort in empowering and creating continuous awareness for all members. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to reward you abundantly. Also, I appreciate the first speaker, Dr. Lukman Rahim, for that wonderful session that took us through the journey, to different jurisdictions as far as security is concerned, the case may be. May Allah reward you abundantly. And same appreciation and prayer go to all members who contributed through the first session. I haven't started the session a little bit, later than scheduled. We need to be wary of our Zuri time. And tax conversation is a kind of conversation that is very interesting, because as we used to know in the conventional world, only two things are so inevitable, but people actually detest them. And those two things are tax and death. So having said that, we'll be having wonderful conversation, on the topic, current development in the Nigerian tax ecosystem. And within a couple of minutes, 30 minutes thereabout, we'll be looking to, the content as we rightly have. I think the first thing we need to do is to understand how does it look like when we talk about the Nigerian tax ecosystem. What does the landscape look like? We have several, stakeholders that have one impact or the other to contribute to the Nigerian tax ecosystem. And overtly, covertly, positively or negatively, each of these stakeholders have been contributing their own quota, whether we like it or not. We have the tax authorities with the usual way of ensuring compliance and enforcement to the underlying tax laws. We have the policy drafter, who are so key in bringing in the international experience into our local laws. And we have the taxpayers, who appear to be the one bearing the burden of activities of the tax authorities or the policymaker, as the case may be. Then we have other citizens. Probably they are not taxpayers, but they are watching the government to understand how government is going to spend the proceeds of tax collection, as the case may be. That stakeholder highlighted in red, whether we like it or not, they exit the touts and area boards. Because if you tell an Okada rider that is not paying taxes in Nigeria, he will smartly and righteously respond back to you to say, I pay, see my receipt. Because on daily basis, you can see an Okada rider that will not pay less than maybe 2,000 naira to different boys or group of boys under disguise of whatever name you want to call them, engaging in such activities. Yeah, in the recent time, I think we need to appreciate the effort of our courts and legislators, in the sense of doing a wonderful job, vis-a-vis Finance Act amendments and, several judgments we've enjoyed in the recent time, especially from the tax appeal tribunal, as the case may be. When we talk about the tax system, based on the law, there are certain taxes and levies that ordinarily are meant to be collected by local government and state. Where we see federal government trying to collect such taxes, I think it can be simply deemed as an unconstitutional act, which taxpayers are encouraged to frown at, as the case may be. So by virtue of this, it is important for taxpayers, tax consultants, and the general public to understand their rights. What should they pay? Who should they pay to? And at what time are they meant to pay such taxes, as the case may be? Despite the perfectly laid down legislation that should guide, how tax admission should be conducted in Nigeria, we still have instances that create a great concern for us, as an important stakeholder in the so-called tax ecosystem. So having said that, we are all aware that since the financial 2019, which happened to be the best thing that has ever happened to our tax system in Nigeria, i.e. the annual amendment of certain tax laws to ensure that our tax administration continue to be in tandem with the reality of the current modern society. Without wasting much of our time on this, because I'm quite aware that all of us, or most of us, if not all of us, will have listened to one seminar or webinar, relating to amendment to Financial 2021, as the case may be. So I just have 2 slides here that summarize, key point of, such an amendment for a refresher after the training, as the case may be. But in the course of my review of tax computation of companies in the recent weeks, I've realized certain things that companies are still missing out, and essentially I've decided to highlight those things in red color letterings, as you can see in this line and on the next slide. The first one is the change in educational tax rate. It is no longer 2% of accessible profit, but 2.5% of accessible profit. First, let's take note of this in order to ensure that we don't fall onto the right side of the law. And NASENIN, which is a special levy for the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, that act has been in existence for a long time. So it has been resurrected by the Financial 2021, and it is applicable to players in certain sectors or industry: banking, mobile telecom, ICT, aviation, maritime, and oil and gas, which is 0.25% of profit before tax payable to Federal Inland Revenue Service. Police fund levy, that levy was enacted through 2019 Act, with intention of coming up with additional fund, probably that will solve the so-called insecurity we have in Nigeria. However, there hasn't been specific pronouncements on who should collect this money. Finance Act has come to say FRS has obligation to collect the money, which is 0.005% of net profit. In other words, you can say 0.05% of your profit after tax, as the case may be. Let me move to the next slide. Interesting amendment is the one to Section 23(1)(c), of the Company Income Tax Act, which talks about tax implication of educational activities. We used to understand that, okay, if you conduct educational activities that are of public character, you were exempted from company income tax, as the case may be. But with this amendment, it gives a kind of question mark to what should be your obligation, as the case may be. Then the last one talks about Personal Income Tax Act, which is exclusion of premium paid on deferred annuity from the basis of, claiming tax relief under paid tax computation. Before now, there is no demarcation between premium paid on life assurance and deferred annuity policy. But the law has come to say only premium paid on life assurance will be acceptable as a liable deduction for paid tax purpose. Let's move to technology. A lot has been happening in terms of technology enablement across different tax authorities, be it federal, Inland Revenue Services, or state internal revenue services, as the case may be. We are all aware of the Tax Promax, which is the electronic platform for filing of tax returns, be it withholding tax, VAT, CIT, as the case may be. It is very important for every taxpayer or tax consultant or professionals like you and I to understand the peculiarities of this system. Peculiarities of the system should be understood in a timely manner, because failure to do that, one is actually applying a kind of a pitch, that can lead . case may be. For some of us in Lagos State, we were aware of that situation during the filing of annual pay tax returns, where all of a sudden, Lagos State Internal Revenue made it known that every employee's VBN on BVN or AIN must be linked, to their payer ID before you could submit the tax return. It created a lot of issue, and LIS insisted that the deadline will not be, extended. For some guys that have done their own work, perfectly aware of this before the deadline date, I think they were able to pass through and move on very well. Tax promise is important to note that from January this year, tax promise has commenced automatic level of penalties and interest. And one thing to note is that this accruing of penalty and interest happens on daily basis. You all agree with me that in the past, what we used to see is that if you own a tax for maybe 4 or 5 years and a tax audit happens, you will just be levied penalty once off, and you'll be levied interest just for 1 year, just annual interest. But by implication, what tax promise is doing, if you are in default for one, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Alhamdulillah. So if you are in default for a day, you have your your interest, penalty is constant, you have your interest accrued. The implication of that is that after 365 days, then the second year interest will continue to accrue, unless if you do the needful regarding that. So this is very, very important information for us as professionals to ensure that we don't stay at the wrong side of the law. Then the section 25 of FRS Establishment Act has come to stay, that is the provision that empowered FRS to deploy proprietary software or third-party software onto your system or your client system for purpose of tax collection or tax administration. Yeah, many people frown at this because the question was that can we, let's say, FRS do such thing? Then we will bear the consequence of any breach in privacy or data confidentiality in the course of plugging in certain technology or solution into taxpayers'
I think we are crossing. So let's just hold on.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Actually, we lost him.
What happened was that the host muted everybody, and that equally affected me. So I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Alhamdulillah. So timely payment of taxes is very, very key, and it is very important to avoid, lateness in giving the instruction to your bank or initiating the online transfer, especially for those transactional taxes, like VAT, withholding tax. We've come across certain instances in the practice whereby because companies fail to initiate VAT on time, the bank could not approve on time, instead of receiving approval by 11 p.m. before. So 12 a.m., 1 a.m., the following morning, when the money cleared, the system has already captured it as late payment, and huge penalty was actually levied. So we need to be aware of this. And what usually leads to that is confusion, for taxpayer regarding whether they need RRR or interswitch or which office should generate the DIN as the case may be. So the panacea to that is to have conversation with whoever is your tax consultant or your tax officials to ensure that you don't fall, at the wrong side of the law. And we have been seeing different reactions from, multinational and big indigenous companies in this regard, where they are changing their ERP to ensure that, it has the required feature. We can make them tax compliance. Process manual are being updated, whereby the accountant, the tax manager, all of them are aware of their obligations, and sanctions are being rolled out, at the company's level for anybody that failed to comply with the laid down process flows, as the case may be. What are we really expecting from tax promas? I think within the next 1 year or two, we should be expecting a tax promas that will be able to capture transaction in foreign currency, so that will take away the edict from taxpayers in terms of utilizing their withholding tax, as the case may be. That will reduce the time being spent in the course of reconciliation of withholding tax, claimable with tax authority, as the case may be. For taxpayers or consultants, capacity building is very, very key. Knowledge is bedrock of our profession. We need to continue to update our knowledge to ensure that we really understand what is going on. And management board should not underestimate the importance of continuous investment in technology solution and innovative idea that will drive their tax compliance. Yeah. So another key pillar when it comes to current development in our tax ecosystem is a kind of promising collaboration between tax authorities and other ministry departments and agencies of the government. And again, the taxpayers have a burden to undertake in this regard. And I've just selected few of such collaboration just for our discussion here. I can think about 17, 18 of such a collaboration, but these 7 are just should be able to help us for the purpose of this conversation. Yeah, the first one talks about collaboration between FRS and the Nigerian Customs Service. We are all aware that when you import goods, be it raw materials, semi-finished or finished goods, as the case may be, there are certain checks, that customs authority will conduct, which may then lead to level of, VAT on the imported item, or import duties, as the case may be. What we've seen in practice is that FRS has been using whatever document you obtain from custom as basis of certifying, what your cost of sale, should look like, as the case may be. Where there is unexplainable and irreconcilable differences between such document and what you book in your financial statement, you risk, there is a chance of such difference of variance being added back for tax purposes, as the case may be. So it is very essential we look beyond reducing the import duties when we are talking about what should we pay to the custom. We've seen in practice, because organizations want to pay smaller amount of money as import duties, they've overstated the cost of item, equipment, or raw material being imported into the country. And at the end of the day, you want to claim the real value of that item, haven't paid lower duties. You can't really eat your cake and have it. We need to make sure we try safely regarding that space. The second one talks about FRS and Industrial Inspectorate Division of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. And that talks about what we call capital allowance. We are all aware that based on the law, when you incur qualifying capital expenditure, you are entitled to certain reliefs in terms of tax depreciation, otherwise known as a capital allowance for that purpose. However, there is a division under the Ministry of Industry, which is shadowed with responsibility of validating your investment. In fact, the law expects the Industrial Inspectorate Act expect every investor, what I mean by investor, if you want to spend certain amount of money on capital expenditure, before you spend the money, the law expects you to write, the Inspectorate Division first to notify them your intention. This is my budget, and I want to spend 500 million on certain capital expenditure for 2022 or 2023, as the case may be. Then when you later incurred the expenses itself, the inspectorate division will come with their inspector to validate truly you've incurred that money. And they will then issue a certificate we call acceptance certificate, accepting, true incurement of such investments as the case may be. Now, Section 5 of that law says where any of the listed authorities are deciding on a matter that has impact on such investment, they will need to refer to that certificate to make a judgment. That is what the law says. And on that basis, we've seen FRS, pushing vehemently to ensure that they have copies of acceptance certificate as a basis of allowing capital allowance. It has been a very tough conversation, with tax authority in the recent
Sorry,
time.
Mr. Akim, we can no longer view your screen. We can no longer view your screen. Probably you need to share it again.
Okay, I'll try to do that. NFS. Okay. Let's confirm if it's visible now. Can you see the screen now?
Thank you so much. You can see it now.
Yeah, so regarding the capital allowance, that is the situation. Yeah, the challenge has been, what about my invoices? Invoices were issued to me by third parties when I procured this investment. But unfortunately, Section 5 of the Inspectorate Act, I think is a very valid weapon for FRS to ride on. Then the third attempt talks about, tax enforcement, whereby we've seen FRS or even the State Internal Revenue Service using the support of Nigeria Police, to enforce tax compliance by closing up of taxpayers' offices, as the case may be. AFCC collaboration with FRS is equally very prominent, in the recent time, similar to what we see where National Assembly committees, are inviting taxpayers to come and answer certain queries relating to tax matters, as the case may be. One may think this is actually in contradiction to the provision of Section 68, which empower just FRS as a body, saddled with such a responsibility. But after the Amendment to Finance Act, what we've seen is a situation whereby if you visit maybe EFCC office in Abuja today for tax matter, the person that will be talking to you, if you look at every gadget, furniture and fittings that person is using, you are likely to see sticker of FRS, attached to such table. So by implication is to give you that impression that forget about your law. FRS is aware of what I'm doing here as EFCC, as the case may be. So that is equally gaining prominence in the recent months. Then another one is, collaboration between FRS and State Internal Revenue Service, whereby when FRS is auditing a taxpayer, they ask for certain information that relate to state tax matters, such as evidence of returns filed with the state authority, or the PENCOM's compliance certificate, the pension compliance certificate issued by PENCOM to truly validate the amount incurred, for purpose of pension contribution, as the case may be. So we have a collaboration with court whereby practice directions, are being issued. We had 2 practice directions in 2021. Another one has been issued in 2022. I think signed, 10th day of January of this year, as the case may be. So that has been the development in the recent time. And the issue of the, practice direction or TAT procedural rule has a kind of impact on what we see when it comes to tax controversy dispute resolution in the recent time. Just to refresh our memory, we are all aware of the process flow when it comes to tax controversy in Nigeria. The expectation is that the taxpayer should have passed through the compliance stage, by filing the applicable tax returns, making the tax payment as a when due. Afterwards, a tax officer may decide to do a kind of internal check, which we usually call desk review, to come up with a very quick check on whether what you've paid or the returns you've actually filed are in order, as the case may be. So where there is any defect or default, then the tax office will write you to come and bridge the gap as soon as possible. Along the line, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years along the line, tax audit will come up with a statute of limitation of 6 years. Section 66 of our law, mentioned that tax audit should not span beyond 6 years. However, tax investigation is the last level of such a check, which may span beyond 6 years. In the case of any suspect of maybe fraud, neglect or default, as the case may be. So this is just the process that we see in our tax system in Nigeria. Now, what is very key, it is very rare before you submit any tax return and a taxman will not see a kind of defect. What is just very key is to ensure that you take chance of your right to objection as a taxpayer, as enshrined in our relevant tax laws. And in so doing, you need to ensure that your objection to whatever assessment a taxman issue is a valid one. Be it you need to respond, not later than 30 days, make sure your response is in writing, be it electronically or hard copy, and make sure the basis of your objection are ground one, they are very valid basis, not something, frivolous or something vague, as the case may be. So provided you can satisfy this condition, you have that right. And at the end of the day, if you could not reach a kind of compromise or a decision with the taxman, you have every right to appeal to tax appeal tribunal within 30 days of probably receiving notice of refusal to amend. The way it works, a taxman can tell you whatever grammar or evidence you've provided, I'm revising amendment of this notice, just go and pay. So what the law expects you to do is that within 30 days of receiving such notice, you need to make sure you file a kind of appeal with the tax appeal tribunal within your jurisdiction, as the case may be. And on that basis, a kind of a procedural rule was released in 2021, which highlighted what are the processes or procedures taxpayers or appellants and respondents will need to follow in the course of registering their appeal or airing their appeal with the TAT, as the case may be. The prominent among those rules, is Order 3 of Rule 6, which required, which requires taxpayer to, pay 50% of tax in dispute to a special account before, the proceeding can actually commence, as the case may be. And in the recent judgment between IHL, One Investment Holding Limited, and FRS, TAT has actually ruled, I think that judgment happened in around March. So TAT has ruled that that Order 3 and Rule 6 should not override the provision of Section 15, subsection 7 of the 5th schedule of the FRS Establishment Act. And this is a section that talks about the fact that, if FRS can prove, if the service can prove reasonably to TAT that there's a need to actually deposit a kind of security before the case is being aired, then the court or TAT will then decide on what should be deposited. And usually, the law expects it to be lower of whatever the taxpayer paid in the preceding year, and 50% of the amount in dispute, plus 10% of whatever amount you want to deposit. However, it is not automatic. FRS will need to prove, beyond reasonable doubt that, the taxpayer in question has not been filing return as when due, or, the appeal submitted by taxpayer is somehow frivolous or abuse of court proceeding, as the case may be. And that judgment perfectly ruled that in the absence of such proof, then we cannot say Order 3 or Rule 6 of the TAT procedural rule should exist, as the case may be. However, this year, Federal High Court comes up with a kind of a tax appeal rule to say if you are moving from TAT, you are not satisfied, you want to go to Federal High Court, you need to pay 100% of disputed tax debt prior to hearing of your appeal. So this happened in January 2022, while the case I just enumerated now happened in March 2022, but it leads to TAT procedural rule. So it's only the lawyer that may be able to tell us whether it's going to have impact on these FHC tax appeal rules or not. Then the final one I would like to mention here talks about means of communication between FRS and taxpayer. Please. Of assessment from tax authority via SMS. Such assessment may be binding on you, by provision of such law as the case may be. Transfer pricing is very, very key. Where you have intercompany transaction, make sure you file your TP returns because the liability for not doing so can be as high as 10 million naira, plus, other penalty as may be applicable. Closing remark, this is, I think we spent like 27 minutes already. Closing remark is saying everybody likes fairness. Everybody likes, fair and reasonable, tax assessment. However, you can only enjoy such fairness or reasonableness, if you have perfect documentation. And unfortunately, documents cannot be easily generated, during tax controversy. It means spirit of documentation should be embedded within the taxpayers' organization to ensure that when the times come, we can actually rely on it. Investment is very key. Investment in people, investment in technology, investment in control is very, very key to ensure that we don't fall at the wrong side of the law. Then, when you are engaging tax authority, cordiality, courtesy, and mutual respect is very, very key. Even where you are right, make sure you present your case with respect without necessarily losing value as the case may be. So that there wouldn't be unfavorable personal touch to whatever utterance you might have made during tax reconciliation meeting. And like MPAN is doing, try to establish such channels that can give you free consultation as we are currently doing. It's not everything is not money. If you can connect yourself, spend a kind of 100 naira, 200 naira on data and use such data meaningfully by joining important and useful group like MPAN that can be giving you informative ideas that is going on in the tax ecosystem. This is very, very key. And you need to be aware that apart from generic tax incentives, there are specific incentives in your industry. So it is important for you to know such specific incentives and make sure you get hold of them for the benefit of the stakeholders of your organization. VAT, for example, we know pharmaceutical products are exempt from VAT. Everybody knows that. But what we miss out at times is that the question is that if that is the case, why do we pay VAT on imported pharmaceutical products at times? The response is that custom doesn't really understand tax law. You that understand tax law with your consultant who need to present your case in such a way that they can understand VAT should not be charged, and you can then present your case to the ministry to even get refund for whatever you might have wrongly paid in the course of doing that. Energy sector has similar, incentives that we can enjoy, and so on and so forth. Finally, my brothers and sisters, please, whether we like it or not, compliance is cheaper than non-compliance, be it in the short term or in the long run, as the case may be. Thank you so much for your time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, enrich us in knowledge and grant us the word of this conversation.
The chairman, please.
Yeah, Jazakumullah khairan, my dear brother, for your mind-blowing lecture. So pray to Almighty Allah to continue to enrich you in knowledge and to make your affair easy for us. My brothers and sisters, we've heard it from the horse's mouth. So, like, I'll borrow from his last comment that compliance is cheaper than non-compliance. So, we know when it comes to tax issues and administration, so even though if you have all the rights and everything, it's difficult in most cases, to ride over tax authority because they have the instrument of the law and the power. So even though when you go to court, you find out that you're in court for so many years. What happened to your business during those periods? So it's better we talk to the relevant consultants to guide in terms of tax planning and the administration of your tax. I'm sure as Muslim professionals, a lot of us are either business owners, employee, entrepreneurs, or advisors. I think we need to borrow. I'm sure at the end of the session, all this quality material will be shared to the platform, whether people participated or not. So we can all borrow from this knowledge and to add to what we have, or to also validate what we used to know. So may Almighty Allah continue to bless the brother and bless all of us. May we witness more Ramadan, inshallah. Thank you so much, our guest lecturer and my brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Yeah, Jazakumullah khairan, Mr. Chairman. And Jazakumullah khairan for that beautiful presentation also to our brother, Rakim. Perhaps we have one or two questions before we go to other sections of the program. In case we have from anybody, can such a person kindly indicate by raising up his hand? And I'm quickly saying that the webinar too, that the presentation of Dr. Ibrahim has already been shared on this platform, but then it will also be shared in other platforms as well, in case we have people who have not been able to get it from here. Any question, please?
Salaam alaikum, sir.
Alaikum salam.
Please, I have a question, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Please, thank you for that presentation to our brother. My name is Tijani Oladele. Please, in respect of those these Agbero people that collect fees, are they also revenue agency? Why such people are allowed to be collecting revenue? Are they remitting it? How are they doing the money? Thank you, sir. Please. Hello.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you. That's a very precarious situation we find ourselves in this country, and it has something to do with the so-called insecurity that Dr. perfectly elaborated earlier on. So the challenge is that at times, if you look at it at local government level, they issue certain receipt that you see one local government name therein, as the case may be. The question we may want to ask ourselves is that, are these receipts validly issued by such local governments? If that is the case, then we can as well assume that if not all, part of the proceeds of such collection, is being remitted to such a local government authority, as the case may be. I think that's a very short response I can give regarding that. Should it be? The answer is no, it shouldn't be. Should it be? There should be a kind of a spirit of voluntary, compliance, whereby an Okada man can open a simple app or just type a code, star 3313 and remit the daily deal to the particular government account, without anybody harassing him. I think that's just my response to that question.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Maybe if I can just put a word on that.
Right. Okay.
Like the brother has actually asked a valid question that people have been asking all over the years. But looking at it at the other side, when we talk about insecurity, I could remember in Lagos where I live, during the era of former administrator of Lagos, the Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, there was a time he banned the activities of this Agbero. And you can imagine the unprecedented level of crime, armed robbery and everything that, that was witnessed by people that are maybe of age at that particular time. So either way, it's something that we have come to live with. Remove all this Agbero in Lagos for now, we might be in for a bigger trouble. So the security might even be worse than that of the North. But I don't know the sharing agreement between them and government. Some weeks ago, if you see what I've been flying on a lot of social media, that every year they get about 100 billion NRTW. So you now wonder, if somebody that is not regulated is getting this, then where is the money going into? You can imagine what that one would do. And I'm sure 30 or 40% of that will be from Lagos State alone. So why can't Lagos take over that? But maybe they're also looking at the other end based on their own security or intelligence information that it may be a full-blown of other criminality. So, but by and large, the people that are paying, which are the informal people as well, they are not complaining. So if we shouldn't be looking at that as a tax expert, otherwise we might have a bigger problem than we currently have. That's just an opinion anyway. Thank you.
Okay, Jazakumullah khairan. Before I call on the chairman of Ramadan committee, in person of Madam Ahmed Sanusi, to give vote of thanks, I want to acknowledge the unflinching support of our resource person, in person of Dr. Lukman. He actually came to our rescue when we had some issue with our former link. And as we speak, we are still on this platform. That is, I don't know how to describe it, but that is beautiful. And spirit of Ramadan and brotherhood, we will live to remember that, inshallah, and keep telling you, Jazakumullah khairan, khairan jazaa. That's a special acknowledgement from my end on that provision. I will be going ahead straight to call on Madam Sanusi, FCA, to give a vote of thanks. Okay, vote of thanks. Then we can call also on our ex-wife Amir, the Amir before the present Amir, to give us a closing prayer. That's in person of Madam Muhibuddin Ajadi, my elder brother by surname. Madam Sanusi.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making us witness today. We thank him for making us witness another month of Ramadan. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our fasting and our ibadah as an act of worship. On behalf of the Ramadan committee and the entire executive members of MPAN, we say Jazakumullah khairan. Firstly to our lecturers, to our chairman of sessions, and to our contributors. We pray Allah continue to increase in knowledge. May Allah continue to be with each and every one of you. We also thank you, participants. If our brothers and sisters have not been here, to also witness and to also listen to what we have to discuss today, listen to what we have to present today, I think we wouldn't have been able to hold any Ramadan seminar this month of Ramadan. But we thank you all. May Allah continue to be with each and every one of you. I once again remind you that the programs of MPAN continues even after Ramadan. Our training on tax, our training on accounting, our training on software, our training on other Islamic areas of jurisdictions still continues after Ramadan. More information will be passed across to us on the group. Also, for those who are not accountants, who are not on the MPAN group, you can also always link up to our Facebook page, the Muslim Professional Accountant Association of Nigeria, MPAN Facebook page. You can always get other relevant information regarding our trainings and our other seminars there. Once again, on behalf of the entire members of the committee, we say Jazakumullah khairan to you all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all abundantly. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to say that we have actually planned going on to live events again. We are only constrained to have this on virtual, the way we have it. I'm saying this so that we can get prepared. I know sometimes it could be weary being online for a very long time. We see participants dropping over time. I know data get exhausted sometimes and the rest of them. But then, Jazakumullah khairan, like the chairman said. We're calling on Madam Muhibuddin Ajadi to give us the closing prayer. Madam Muhibuddin Ajadi, in case we don't have him here, do I call on is he around? Okay. So then we call on We have Abdul Wahab Badamosi. Are you on? Well, Abdul Wahab, for a closing prayer.
Although we have some questions in the chat box.
Okay. Let me just see. Okay, we have Madam Sadiq Afino. You can give us a closing prayer. I'm trying to ensure I call only people on the platform so that we don't have a break in between.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this program. It's an educative one and soul inspiring. We pray Almighty Allah accept it as an act of ibadah from the organizers, the speakers, the chairman that we had today, and all members. May Almighty Allah accept our fast, accept our prayer. Allahumma taqabbal salatana, Allahumma taqabbal siyamana, Allahumma taqabbal qiyamana, Allahumma taqabbal ruku'ana, Allahumma taqabbal sujudana, Allahumma taqabbal du'ana, birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma innaka afuwwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-jannah wa man qarraba ilayha min qawlin aw amal. ونعوذ بك من النار ومن قرب إليها من قول وعمل وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
We'll be sharing the presentation on tax as well. Immediately we get that as well. We have already started sharing that of the security by Dr. Lukman. Jazakumullah khairan. Khairan jazaa. Dr. Lukman, we are very, very grateful. I couldn't find another word, but I would say that as recommended by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Jazakumullah khairan. Khairan jazaa, inshallah.